What's up, guys? Welcome back to Season 2, Episode 1 of the Salty Sports Podcast. It has been
Episode 1.5.
it's been a while since we recorded. We actually tried to record this episode a few different times at different points over the last couple months. But we've been a bit busy with schoolwork and other stuff, so we just haven't really got the chance to fully record another episode and edit it, get it out. All of that takes a lot of time, but we are back. This one we're
And we're
recording
also
it the day it's
transitioning to a
being
slightly different
released.
style. We're going to do primarily voice only, gives us more room to record at different times, relax,
Yeah.
focus more on the content, not on the look. And we're going to be doing less predictions and more debating like our opinions on things, more fun things like a game occasionally, like a little competitive game
Yeah,
between us.
trivia, something like that. Yeah, so last season we predicted a lot of things, football scores and who we think would win and whatnot. But now we're going to be doing more of in-depth discussions on sports things, different topics. Who's the best at certain positions, what teams should draft, what players. And actually getting right into that, we're going to start off by talking about the NFL's postseason and offseason. So
So we have a
well,
few things to talk about. First and foremost, honestly, has got to be Drew Brees' retirement. He retired way too early because first of all,
I
Tom Brady's
think
going to steal all his records, and I just think that's just kind of not
right,
right.
but I think he knew it was kind of his time. He's been injured a lot over the past year, past couple years really, and he was just worn down from football. An absolute legend,
It was
guaranteed Hall of Famer.
anticlimactic, though, wasn't it? It was
Yeah,
anticlimactic.
and it was. I think the reasoning behind that is just because of the
No fans.
circumstances of this season. Yeah, if he had the fans, if he could have one last goodbye game, that would have been incredible. But unfortunately, not. I think it's sad. We had a few other big players retire. Phillip Rivers and
Oh God! Finally! Oh my gosh! Phillip Rivers. He has so many kids to
go
look
back to
after.
having more kids. Yeah. But
Yeah.
he was also a great quarterback, debatably a Hall of Famer, depending on how you look at it.
No.
But no, he has
All
been
right.
great.
What's his record in the postseason?
Right, he sucks in the
Probably like zero
postseason.
and zero. It's probably like 0-0.
We know he's not the greatest, but it's very debatable.
He throws
He did pretty
sidearm and
well.
he's not that good. He is not good. He is not a Hall of
No,
Famer to me.
he's had a pretty
If
good
he's
career.
a Hall of Famer, then there are so many other players who should be led in as well. Like just
He had a great career. And at this point, there are very few quarterbacks who actually last in the league as long as he did. A lot of quarterbacks just have a couple good seasons and then they're out of it. So we've really
no, but Rivers,
gotta
it's
respect that.
not
But
even that. He's just not good. It's all the thing is, if you look at Matthew Stafford had a 5,000 yard season, right? It was a few years ago, like 2012, 2013, something like that.
yeah.
5,000 yards previously, which was only done like once or twice by
Oh, you are muted right now. Um, you Oh, yeah, you're talking about his stats.
oh yeah, sorry, yeah. So Stafford got 5,000 yards, which was previously done by Dan Marino, I think like 1986. He got 5,000 yards. Then many quarterbacks have done it since. I think it's actually not many, but like 4 or 5 in the last 10 years. Thinking about it, the passing game has gone up a lot. So the players that look good now, it's mainly because
Yeah, it's
they're
because
comparing them to other.
the game as a whole has improved, but
The Hall of
he
Fame
has a lot
has
of
gone
yards
down.
and he has a lot of touchdowns over the course of his career. Also, he has a very high passer rating, and if you look through his seasons, he stays really consistent. He hasn't been
And
he
again,
hasn't
players are
had any
judged on
really
their
horrible
success.
seasons.
They're judged on their success, not how good they are. And even
Right, but
then,
when
watch
you
him
take
play. Watch him
but
play. He makes bad
yes, I
reads.
watched
He
him.
throws the really ugly throws. Makes bad reads. He relies
Elkin, you've
way
only
too
been
much.
watching him for for the past couple years, and for you even barely at all because he played on the Chargers for most of
I've
the
watched
time
plenty.
football.
He makes bad
No,
reads. He relies too much on his receivers to get the job done instead of making the right read quick. That's his issue. He's not a players
He
that I can
has
rely on
no.
to get me out of a tough spot.
I'd say
He is not
I'd say
clutch.
he definitely. I would not say. I would say he's not necessarily clutch, but I also wouldn't say that he chokes or that he's bad. He's got very average like completion percentage stats. And
Average.
right. But
Average.
maintaining it for that long of a career as he did for 16 seasons is it's really good. And if you look at it, he's accumulated so many yards and so
But then
many
again, yards don't
touchdowns.
mean anything. Look at Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick's top 25 all time, I'm pretty sure, in yards.
Yeah, and he's also had some great seasons and great plays.
Yeah, Fitzpatrick has 35,000 yards.
Yeah,
For a player who's moving around the quarterback so many times, the
and
league so many
Phillip Rivers
times.
has 63,000 yards career. That's one of the tops. I believe it's like top 10, maybe even top 5. He has lasted so long and he's played at a very, very consistent level. And you also have to remember the teams who were built around him and what
Sorry,
they've
I
done.
want to be clear. I just don't. I think the prestige of the Hall of Fame is going down with all these players who are good, who may seem good now, but they really haven't been. Players are
I
judged on their success, not on their individual stats. Even then, his stats aren't amazingly good. They're
right.
really not.
I agree with that, but I think that he's maintained that level of play. He's been in the league for long enough that it's really just been a fantastic career, and I
So
think
the
he
only
does
thing
deserve
about
to.
getting into the Hall of Fame is being in the league a long time.
Well,
That's just not
that's
right.
one thing. You can
But
have
Daniel,
average stats
if I was in the league for 30 years, I
and you had
threw
average stats every
3,000.
year.
Let's say I threw 3,000 yards a year. Really bad for a quarterback, right?
If
That's
you
still
stay in the
what,
league, if you stay in the
90,000
league,
yards.
right? But
That's
let's say you're on a run heavy team, then most quarterbacks that's only if they're on a run heavy team. But
yes. Passing
Elkin,
yards are not a judge of skill; they're a judge of how long you play for. Touchdowns,
and
same
he's
thing. They're not
played
a
for
judge
that.
of
But
skill.
Elkin
Look
maintaining
for yards per year, touchdowns per year, and
right. And
then
when
look
you
at the
look
running
at
backs
that,
alongside him.
he's maintained that. He's had since 2008, he has had one season where he didn't hit at least 4,000 yards, and
How
where
many
he
times has he
didn't.
been in the top 5 of
I'd have to check.
passing yards?
It doesn't show me that on here
Yeah, I'll go to
on my phone, but he has not gone under 4,000 yards since 2012, and even then
I'm going
before
to
that he had 4 straight seasons.
PFR Pro Football Reference. They have everything.
Okay.
But if you look,
But
all right, so I'm
he is,
looking at
and
it.
I
He
think it's
led the
that
league in yards once, which was in 2010, 4,700.
which is a lot.
But all right, yeah, this is again right here. Look, Ben Roethlisberger in 2018 threw for 5,100 yards. Jameis Winston
Yeah,
threw for
but that's because he
5,100
throws so
yards.
much. If you also look at how many picks, that's because they
Doesn't
don't run
matter.
the
The
ball at
amount of
all.
yards you have is significantly less prestigious.
That does
It's
no.
significantly over. Sorry.
So what is it that gets you into the Hall of Fame? If it's not yards, if it's not longevity of your career, if it's
Look,
not
all right, look at this. Drew Brees. Drew Brees has 7 years where he led the league in passing yards. 7.
Yes.
He has records setting for passing yards, touchdowns, records. It's not just, I play a long time. It's records.
Right.
You have other players who are pioneers at the position. You have Michael Vick. He's not a Hall of Famer, but Michael Vick, who was the first one to start running the ball.
If you're only going to let people who set records and people who are pioneers of the game into the Hall of Fame.
That's what the Hall of Fame is.
I don't think so. I think players who play at an exceptional level or for such a long time period
Phillip
can as
Rivers
well.
had really 1 year where he was the top of the top.
Yeah, but he's played consistently in like the top half.
Consistently
top 10.
in the top 10, I don't think it's good enough for a Hall of Fame.
I think that Daniel, is. I think playing for
it's
that long
Daniel,
that high.
It's the Hall of Fame, and he's never done anything in the postseason.
Yes, because in the postseason's a team game. You look at this. 2010, the Chargers had the number 1 offense, number 1 defense in the league. First time a team has
Special
ever
teams,
had the
right, yeah.
number one offense and number one defense, and their special teams made it so they didn't get in the playoffs.
Right.
You
But then
cannot
if you look
blame
at Tom
him
Brady,
for not having.
Doesn't matter whatever the rest of the team around Tom Brady is, he finds ways to win. That's what makes him so great.
Tom Brady
He
is the
finds ways
GOAT.
to
That's
win.
undisputable.
He finds
Tom
ways
Brady's
to
GOAT.
win. Exactly.
Right. Tom Brady is the GOAT, though.
Just-
You shouldn't just let like the GOAT into the Hall of Fame. You got, let's see.
I know.
Who's another like
But you
Hall of
shouldn't
Fame
let
player?
Phillip Rivers.
I think you should.
All right, now then you have Eli Manning, who's also debatable. Eli Manning's more deserving of it than Phillip Rivers.
What?
Eli Manning is much more deserving of it than Phillip Rivers.
Yes, he's led his teams to the Super Bowls, but that's also
exactly.
a team.
Winning
that's also
is what
a
counts.
Team. But that's also a team thing.
Right, but it's the quarterback's job.
But that's also a team thing. A quarterback can play at the highest level possible. As we saw 2010, Rivers had the most passing yards, and his team still let him down. Okay. I think adding the Super Bowl rings on
Daniel,
it helps
that's
your
1
resume.
year.
But
all right, I'm gonna look at this. How many years have the Chargers postseason history? Let's look at this. All right, they've made the playoffs in 2000 and. Sorry, when was the first year he was in?
He played first in 2004. Was the starter in
2004. Right.
In
2006 they made the 2006 they made the playoffs. They lost to New England 24-21.
That's the Patriots.
2007 they won in the wild card. They won in the divisional, and then they lost in the conference championship to the Patriots.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Yeah,
do you see where you're going with this though?
Look,
they lose to the Patriots because you're losing the dynasty.
Keep listening. 2008, they beat the Colts. They lost to the Steelers. 2009, they lost to the Jets. 2013, they beat the Bengals. Then they lost to the Broncos. And then 2018, they beat the 2018, they beat the Ravens. And then they lost to the Patriots. Keep in mind, since 2009, he's made the playoffs twice.
And
I guess 3 times if you count the Colts. If you count the Colts, I guess 3 times.
Right.
But Daniel, if you're a quarterback, it's up to you to lead your team. If you look at Stafford, But if you look at Stafford as an example of it being a team thing, yes. But then also you have Stafford putting up you have Stafford putting up unbelievable numbers to offset that.
Right, but you also have Phillip Rivers, who has one of the highest, who has one of the top 10 amounts of yards, passing yards of all time, and his team still didn't make it. Okay, even if a quarterback, you can have like the best quarterback in the league. You can have Deshaun Watson, arguably, actually not arguably, top 5 quarterback in the league, plays on the Texans, and he can't get them into playoffs this season.
He did though. Last year,
this season,
but it's different. Phillip Rivers has had really good pieces around him.
Yeah.
Okay, he has had that.
Deshaun Watson had some good pieces around him too.
Keenan Allen had a great defense, and constantly a top 10, top 15 offense.
Right, and then you have the special teams who ruins it all. You can't. It's a team game.
But I'm not talking about 1 year. I'm talking about that. Let's look at the Chargers roster.
Okay.
Even though he was retired on the Colts, but that's a lot of the same players. You have Keenan Allen, Joey Bosa, Derwin James.
We're spending a lot of time.
It's a lot
of.
But I know we're gonna move on after in the next minute or so. But I think that he has not won. He's not very winning. He has not put up he hasn't not put up enough good stats to offset the fact that he hasn't won games even with a good roster.
I think that it's not. I think that he's played to the ability to win games. It's the rest of his team that has let him down. I think he has put up the stats. When you've played in the league for that long and you've had that many seasons with that many passing yards in them, when you've played at that level for that long, I think that is worthy of a Hall of Fame career. Just because your team didn't win the Super Bowl
I'll admit they can let him in, but then if they do that, there's a lot of other players that should be let in as well. The prestige of the Hall of Fame is going down.
I would agree with that, but I think that's also fair because you have players who deserve to make it, who back in the old days, they might not have made it simply because the standards were so high.
Which is the whole point of the Hall of Fame.
Right, but I think
you cannot have 10 quarterbacks playing at one time who should be in the Hall of Fame. That just can't. That's
there
just
are
not prestigious.
Name the quarterbacks from this age that are going to make it. You have
We're
Tom
playing
Brady
at the same time. No, listen.
Tom Brady,
Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, Matthew Stafford. There's probably more. Oh,
Stafford wasn't until like halfway into the
Ben Roethlisberger. Then there's probably even more that I haven't named.
There's about
That's
8.
eight
still,
already.
Their careers overlap each other. They're not drafted like the same year. But
Peyton Manning was drafted 1999. Aaron Rodgers was drafted 2006. Between those years, that's the same era. Drew Brees was drafted 2003. Tom Brady, I think it was 1999 as well.
When you have that
Eli
many
Manning,
great
2001.
players. When you have that many great players in those draft years, I think it's totally worth it. Just like you see plenty of great quarterbacks in the modern age.
And then what people are saying, I forgot to count these newer players who people say can make it. Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson. That's already 2 more you can just add to the total.
Yeah, but those were drafted in the past.
And then you have players who are actually deserving
years.
of it, like Fitzpatrick, who should be in because of what he's shown for the sport.
Which is, what has he done? Can you elaborate? I'm not saying I disagree, but elaborate. What has Fitzpatrick
so many
done?
Teams beyond their potential. He's also top 25 in yards, I believe.
He's top 25 in yards, but taken so many teams beyond. How many times has he led teams to the playoffs, and those teams didn't have like any other good weapons?
Exactly. That's what I've been saying.
No. I'm asking how many times has he done that?
I'm not sure exactly, but you always look up and you always see he's having a good year on a bad team after getting dealt. Never any stability for him. Never any constant. He's getting moved around and he's shown something for the game.
But I think that doesn't.
If you let Rivers in, you have to let him in too. Oh, then I forgot to mention Russell Wilson. Then you have others
Wilson was way more recent.
Matt Ryan. All of those.
Right.
They're just.
But those guys you see, they're still in that middle to late stage in their career. They're not at the retiring point yet. If they keep up, if they keep getting
the point is Phillip Rivers. If Phillip Rivers gets let in, the prestige of the Hall of Fame goes down too much. Now let's move on to a different topic.
I don't think so. No. Wait. Let me read to you the stats. Let me read to you the stats of Phillip Rivers' last 5 seasons, the tail end of his career. He has had this past year 4,169 yards. The year before, 4,615 yards. The year before, 4,300 yards. The year before, 4,500 yards. If you see Russell Wilson and Matt Ryan continue to do that in the last 4 years of their career, like of course they still have more than 4 years likely in their careers, but if they do that for the remainder of their career, they keep doing that, then yes, they are just as deserving.
Phillip Rivers is 37. He's not 41.
Right. If you see, how old is Russell Wilson? He's like early 30s. I think
he's 33.
32, 33. If you see him do that for 4 or 5 more years and then retire,
Russell Wilson is more right now. If Russell Wilson retires, he's more deserving of a spot than Phillip Rivers. Let's move on.
I would agree, but I still think that Phillip Rivers.
Carson Wentz trade.
Okay. There are a few big trades. There's Carson Wentz to the Colts.
I want to spend like a few minutes on that. We have time for things. Since we're probably going to try to do more uncut, just easier to work with and it's more fun. But Carson Wentz trade. So what was the deal? We got him for a 2nd-round pick that could turn into a 1st-round pick if he plays he plays 75% of the snaps, something like that. 70% of snaps. We got a 2nd-round pick in return. Then you see it's a really big loss for us, honestly.
I think,
his potential as well as what we got in return. We didn't get enough in return.
Right, but I think he doesn't work on your team. You were saying something about like the coach that he worked really well with who went to the Colts. Carson Wentz wasn't happy on the Eagles. Right, he wasn't happy on the Eagles and he wasn't performing well though. And I mean, it just kind of sucks, but that's how it is.
We got a 2nd-round pick and a 3rd-round pick for a player for a pretty much MVP caliber player who could be that potential. Who
has the potential, but season
potential.
But no. But last season, how he performed does
but
not
Daniel,
at all
it's
represent.
The potential. It's his ceiling. Then you look at what Deshaun Watson was possibly fetching 3 first-round picks.
Right, Deshaun Watson
he's
played at that level.
Right.
But he's had worse coaching.
The Eagles should have gotten at least one. The Eagles should have gotten at least 1 first-round pick. 1 first-round pick, and maybe like a 3rd or 4th-round pick.
That's what the conditional thing is, though, is that if he continues to play like crap when he's on Indianapolis, then he's not worth the 1st-rounder. If he plays well then the second rounder turns into a first rounder because
Right,
that's what
but
he'll be
it's not.
worth.
The point is, I said it's least.
Right,
I
but
think the Eagles should have gotten it. Remember also what they traded up to get him. They traded up, I think,
right.
to the 9th overall pick, then to the
But you
second
can't you
overall
can't
pick.
you can't change what you've traded up.
Right,
And that's the
but
thing.
what
Is
I'm
that
saying is, in
from
return, it's a
here,
loss of value. We won a Super Bowl with him. However, his potential that he's shown he can be an MVP caliber player with the right coaching, with the right system around him, with the right players. He's
right.
shown that
And that's
an
but the
MVP
thing
caliber,
is,
even a possibility of an MVP caliber player is worth a lot more. You've seen what teams do when they
right.
trade up in the draft for a number 2 pick just to get a player like, I'll give you an example. What would you have traded up to get Baker Mayfield, who possibly could have been MVP player? He's not even close, but the possibility player teams give up tons,
Right.
and the Eagles got nothing.
But the thing is, if you see Baker having okay, I'm gonna actually use an even better example that the Bears traded up and they got Mitch Trubisky. He wasn't playing that well, and he isn't worth another pick. Obviously, you could say, oh yeah, he could win the MVP. Like in his first 2 seasons, he played pretty decently. He made Pro Bowl.
But
You
first,
could
remember the first
say
2 seasons of Wentz?
no,
Should
right.
have won his MVP in the second year. He should have won that.
Right. But the thing is, you could say, oh yeah, they have MVP MVP possibility. That's the tier they are. But when they played like Wentz played last season, or like Trubinsky has played the last couple seasons, it's the value goes
But
down by a
Trubisky is
lot.
nowhere near as good as Wentz could be. Trubisky's ceiling is not even close to Wentz's.
I
Trubisky's
would
ceiling is
no
a
right,
little
but
above Wentz's bottom.
right. No, Trubinsky's ceiling is far above
We
Wentz's
just saw
bottom, but
Wentz.
he's
We just
not
saw
close to
Wentz's bottom. Trubisky's ceiling is Trubisky's ceiling
Wentz's bottom
4,500
was
yards,
way
4,500 yards, horrible passes. Wentz's bottom.
Trubinsky had a bad season last season, and Wentz
He's
had
not a
a
good
bad
player.
season.
He's just not.
No.
Trubisky's just not a good player.
Listen, Wentz had a bad season last season, and it was horrible. Trubinsky had a bad season last season, and it was still better than Wentz. And that's the thing is, if Wentz can't come back from his bad seasons from the injuries, then he's not worth a first rounder. Even though you might want a first rounder,
but Daniel.
right?
Daniel,
No.
But
the thing is,
what I'm
if
saying,
he doesn't come back,
listen to what I'm saying, please. Teams roll the dice all the time on players who probably never going to even have the potential to be an MVP player. You've seen them trade up to get quarterbacks. You've seen everything they do for that. Yet a player who's proven he can be an MVP player and has that ceiling, whether or not he's good right now, he has the ceiling. He's going back into the system that he was successful in the first place. The Eagles should have gotten more than a second and a third round pick.
But when you fall that far from your ceiling within a couple seasons, it's really tough because you don't know how they're going to come back from that. There have been plenty of players.
But Daniel, you don't know anything when you draft
seasons.
a player. Trevor Lawrence, for all we know, he could be the biggest bust in NFL history. We don't know.
But the thing
they're
is,
rolling the dice on it, and
you
yet
didn't see
just like they're rolling the dice on
Trevor Lawrence have a horrible college football season last season. What you did see is you saw Carson Wentz have a horrible season in the NFL last year, and that's why.
What I'm saying is the risk they're willing to take on quarterbacks.
Right, but for Indianapolis, for Indianapolis, you see quarterback, you see Carson Wentz, who, yes, he has that potential, but he also has the potential to be absolutely horrendous,
just
to
like
completely
any
disrupt
player.
the team. No. But the thing is, other players, like look at any quarterback who has the potential to be an MVP. Like look at Lamar Jackson. Look at Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, even when he's doing bad, it's not that bad.
Right. Russell Wilson would fetch at least 2 first-round picks.
Right, but that's because
Carson Wentz should have gotten one.
No.
One first-round pick and a fourth-round pick.
Okay, can you let me finish what I'm saying for a second? Even when Russell Wilson is bad, he is not that bad. When Carson
that's why I said Russell Wilson would fetch double.
When Carson Wentz had a bad season last year, it was one of the worst quarterback seasons in recent history.
But then he also had when he had his best season was better than Wilson's best season.
But that's in the past. No, it wasn't better than Wilson's best season.
Yeah, it was. Are you kidding
Wilson
me?
has had better seasons. Wilson has had much better seasons than Carson Wentz did.
Did you watch Carson Wentz's season?
I did, and Wilson has had much better. This coming from a Niners fan, Russell Wilson has had he's definitely a better season.
Wilson, as I said, Wilson is worth double what Wentz is, even though Wilson is like 7 years older than Wentz.
Here's the thing, though, is let's say Wentz goes to Indianapolis and he pans out and he does great. you guys get the first rounder and it's worth it.
Now,
Let's say he
how he
doesn't pan
plays
out.
doesn't matter if he
Yeah,
plays
but
70% of
no,
the snaps.
no. That's if he makes the playoffs. He has to play even more if they don't make the playoffs. The thing is though. Let's say he pans out. You guys get the first rounder, which is what he's worth because he comes back and he does well. Let's say he
If we
doesn't
get the
pan out.
first and
No,
third,
no, no, no.
yes,
But
if we get
Elkin, let's
Daniel,
say
if we get the
he
first
does
and third round
just as
pick,
badly. Let's say he just as badly as last season, or even like even a little bit better, but still bad. He's not worth the first rounder at that point. When you've had consistently those
Daniel,
bad seasons in a
it
row,
doesn't
you're
matter.
not worth
Neither
the first
Daniel.
rounder.
Listen,
Yes, it does.
listen, it's rolling the dice as you do with any draft player you do, as you do with anybody. You've
But
seen
this is
teams
a
trade up to
trade.
get right, but Daniel Lentz has proven he can be good. He's also proven he can be really, really bad. However, you're rolling the dice
Exactly.
in a
But no,
system
no,
that he's
no.
familiar with, in a system that he's been good with coaches that he almost won MVP with. That's the thing. How good he is.
I hear exactly what you're saying.
My entire take is I'm unhappy the Eagles did not get enough in return. That's all I'm saying.
Here's the thing is
Eagles
that
did not get enough in return.
you're only seeing the fact that he has the potential to be like he has the MVP potential. You aren't seeing the fact that he has bottom 5 QB in the league potential as well when he
Right,
does
but
bad.
Daniel,
Is that
just
that's
like
the thing
any
is that
draft player, that any
it's not
quarterback can go
let me
right
finish.
that.
Let me finish. It's not about having similar to draft players. Those are completely different. You don't see a draft player have a horrible season and then get traded off and then get traded and then somebody trades up to draft them. That's not how it works. What you see is Carson Wentz had a bad season last season. And so the Colts, they are risking it on him. And that's the thing, is if he goes there and he does well, you get the first round pick. You get what that's worth. If he
Well,
goes
doesn't
there and
matter.
he
It's how much
doesn't
he
do
plays.
well,
They could hold him
no.
out the last 3 games. Even if he's playing stellar, they hold him out the last 3 games. He doesn't reach the snap count, and then we don't get the first round pick.
No, because he has to. If he gets to 70 and you guys make the play and they make the playoffs, then you
70.
do.
That's 7 out of 10. That's, let's say, so if there's 17 games
Right,
in the season, that's like
Elkin, the thing is,
13 games.
look, Indianapolis is taking a gamble because if Carson Wentz does well or even average, you get the first round pick. If he doesn't, then he's not worth it for them at all. Then they shouldn't have traded for him at all. And so you're lucky to even get the second and third rounders for him. And
What
that's
I'm
the
saying
thing
is, what I
is
think we
that
should have
they're
done is we
playing a
also should have
gamble
worked in a
too.
conditional third. We should have worked in a conditional third that could become a second. If we had done that conditional third that could become a second, let's say if they make it to the divisional round this year, I would have been happy with that. We
Right,
have the
but the thing
potential to
is,
do it.
they're already taking enough of a gamble, seeing how bad of a season he had last year. That's the gamble they're willing to take. Is you guys get a first round pick if he goes back to good form. If he stays crappy, he's not worth it for them, and that's why they're only risking so much. Teams aren't going to risk teams aren't going to risk certified like a first round pick for a player that had a horrible season last year.
Daniel, look at
What
it
they
this
are
way.
going to do
Who
is
would we
risk it.
draft as a second round pick? Second round pick, about I think it's like 30% of them end up being starters in the long run. Something like that. Wentz is 100% going to be a starter. First round picks, only 50% of them ever stay in the league more than 3 years.
I can guarantee you if Wentz has another bad season, he is not going to be the starter for the Colts
Right,
or if
but
he
that's
goes
not
to
what I'm
another
saying. What I'm
team,
saying
he's
is,
going to get a very low contract.
instead of thinking of it as a pick, think of the pick as somebody who we're going to draft.
Right, I know,
Unless
but
we got a first and a second round pick would make me happy. A first and a third round pick would make me happy, guaranteed. However,
but the thing is, it's not worth it for the Colts to guarantee you that if their player could be
but look
absolute
at the
trash.
ceiling that he could have.
Right, and if he plays up to that,
That's the issue.
if he plays up to that, you get your first and your third, and you're happy. If he doesn't play up to that, then it's not worth it for them at all. That's exactly what it is. But we spent a
Right.
lot of
But
time.
this,
It doesn't
so
matter
now
the
we're going to move
ceiling;
into
it matters how he
yeah.
plays. But moving on, you also have the Matthew Stafford trade. Rams traded 2 first rounders and a third rounder and Jared Goff. I think this is a phenomenal trade. They're going all in right now, which I think is good.
Especially for the Lions.
I think both teams won this trade. If you're the Rams, you're going all in. You have like all these good players who you've already have signed. Your defense is amazing. You have a lot of offensive weapons.
You have a quarterback who's actually good outside the system. So when the play breaks down, he doesn't throw interceptions to defenders who are really obvious.
Exactly. Rams, this is a genius move. I really wanted the Niners to trade for Matthew Stafford because I knew he wouldn't cost as much as Deshaun Watson, but would play at very high level as well. And I wish they traded for him instead of letting the Rams get him. But this is a really great move for the Rams. You're trading away a bit of the future, but you're going to be very strong Super Bowl contenders for the next couple of years, unless you get like horrendously injured. And for the Lions as well, you get Jared Goff, who can play a couple of seasons, and you also get a lot of draft capital for the
You get
future,
two
which can
first
be
round picks.
great,
That way the Lions can
and
waste
a
it.
third rounder.
Yeah, you just get more draft picks to waste.
Yeah. Then let's see what
The
other big
Lions are kind of like
trades are
just a
there.
franchise you give things to just to get things in return, knowing that just like let's say I have a really good player, but he's kind of an issue off the field. I just don't want to deal with him anymore. Give him to the Lions, have them waste his career, never think about him again.
Yeah. And then
With
let's
that
see
said,
another
yeah,
quarterback trade. Sam Darnold for a second, fourth, and sixth rounder. I think that's a lot for what Darnold has shown, but I also
we
think
got that's
he
about
could
the
do
same
well.
as what we got, excluding the conditional part. But that's about the same. That's what I'm saying. Sam
A
Darnold.
sixth
See,
rounder
Sam
and a fourth
Darnold
round, a sixth and a fourth rounder is not
equals
even
a third.
comparable to a third rounder. I
Yeah, it
don't
is.
think so. I think when
Sixth
you
and a
get
fourth
that
is
late,
about the same as a
you've
third.
got like kickers in the sixth round, and you
No,
very
sixth and a
rarely
fourth
have
rounders. Sixth and a fourth rounder is about the same as a third rounder. It's a bit
very
less value, but it's
debatable.
about
And
the same.
they
But
don't
it's
get the
also
first
Sam
rounder.
Darnold. It's also
Right.
Sam Darnold.
Here's the thing: is I think for
That's a great trade for the
Carolina,
Jets. That's a great trade for the Jets.
it's a great trade for the Jets. For Carolina, it's meh because if Sam Darnold has a good season, then that's good. You have a good season. That's what you need as a quarterback right now for Carolina. If he has a
Carolina
bad
could have gotten this trade for a fourth, a fifth, and a sixth round pick. Second round pick is very valuable to Carolina, especially with the depth players to go in and on for defense. I think that Carolina lost out.
I think they could have negotiated the second down to another third or fourth, maybe. I don't think they could have gone for a 4, 5, 6. But I think this is all right for them because they get a quarterback for Sam Darnold for 1 year contract left. If he plays well, you'll re-sign him and he'll do well. If he doesn't play well, you're gone with him and you've lost some draft picks. For New York, though, it's a great trade. You're getting a lot of draft capital for Sam Darnold, which you don't really need because at this point you have the number 2 overall pick. You can select almost anybody.
Yeah, so with this moving
And
forward, we're going to do some more things about the draft. We're going to do some more fun trivia and games. I want to move a bit into the baseball
yes,
season, the start of it, which I
wait,
think we should talk about.
next week we will discuss first round who we think is going to draft who,
I think we'll give
or at
it
least
2
for the
weeks because I
first
want to
half.
actually do I want to prepare a bit more. We'll do a bit of
Okay,
that
yeah.
off like camera
But
stuff. But
sometime
next
within the
week,
next couple
yeah.
weeks. But
So just start us
lot
off
of
with a
big
bit
draft
of
things.
info about the baseball thing.
Niners traded
All right.
up. A few other teams traded. Anyways, let's move on. We want to go
We'll
into
spend like five quick minutes on baseball because the season just started. There's not
yeah.
as much
There's a
to,
few
to
things
dissect
going
yet.
on. I can get into those because I follow baseball a lot more. I'll go over my two teams mainly because those are what I've been following. You've got the Giants who have been playing pretty decent ball. They've let me check their record. Currently is 6-3. That's a really solid win percentage. Of course, they haven't played the greatest teams yet. But when you're winning games, you can't complain. Then there's the other side of things. There's the A's who started the season 0-6, really, really bad. Um, uh, and they've come back a little. They've gone 3-1 since then. They're currently 3-7. Um, uh, and they've been doing all right. Their players haven't really been playing up to potential, but especially it's been the pitching has been a problem. They've been allowing a lot of hits in clutch moments. It seems like every time they get a lead, they give it right back up. And then, yeah, but the Giants have been doing well, so I can't really complain. I'm going to take a real quick look at the standings across the league.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Whoa. Wait, what?
All right. So Daniel, what do you think about the 17 game schedule that they just added
Wait,
for the
stop.
NFL? Sorry. So what I want to do is I want to say we'll do a quick 30-second segment of the 17 game schedule that then you can move
Then I'll
into
continue.
where.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, actually, there's one more thing other than 17 game schedule which you can get over, but We'll talk about that at the end,
All right,
because
I
that's
will do a
really
five
big
second
news.
space. I'll do five
But
second space between
no,
7
no,
and
no,
9.
no. It's okay. We can just keep talking, keep it uncut. It's
All right.
let's just go into the 17 game schedule really quick, and then I'll get back to baseball. Sorry. Um, interesting. I'm. It's really for monetary purposes, more revenue. I don't think the players like it because it's more chance to get injured. But I do think some teams might be happy with it because if you're on the border of getting into the playoffs, if you're one of those teams that could be in or out, like last year the Dolphins, having that one more win could be the difference maker. It could get you into the playoffs, which is a big thing. And so I think some teams
It takes advantage.
actually are happy
It
with
takes
it.
opportunities away from young players. But then again,
That's
that fourth
yeah.
preseason game was all that used was to try out the starters. It wasn't really used to try out talent.
Yeah.
So
Um, and
what
then
they need
also
to
I
do,
think
sorry,
I'm
yeah,
right, and I'm not really complaining because as a Niners fan, we get to face the Bengals next year, so it's all good with me at the moment. But Elkin, what's your opinion?
my opinion is I like having more football. More football is fun. More football is better. Football is fun to watch. I like football. I like big men hit head against each other. But
And I can't disagree with that. I fully am with you.
yeah, all right.
Back to baseball though. Division leaders right now. You've got Boston, who is 2 games ahead in the East. They've been playing about as good as the Giants, but still that division is not super competitive. Everybody else is 4-5, and they are 6-3. Then you've got in the Central very tight. Cleveland is in the lead of the division by half a game. And that one, there's one team that has been playing far below expectations. That is the White Sox. People are saying, "Oh, they're World Series contenders. They're so good." No, they're
They're the
four
White
and
Sox.
five. They're 4-5 right now, and they're a game and a half back. Obviously, it's early in the season. Can't really judge them from that.
They're also
But
from Chicago.
but you've got a few other teams playing a lot better. AL West A's are at the bottom of the bottom, 3-7, 3.5 games back. The Astros have been dominating. They've been killing everybody, and their record six and three
You've
might
got to
not be
wonder
showing
what
that,
way they're
but
cheating now. For all we know, they're
I
just
know
paying off the other pitchers,
they're hitting so many
which
home
I wouldn't be
runs
opposed
again.
to. It's fun. It's fun to
And
watch.
then
I
you
wouldn't be
also have
opposed
the
to it.
Angels tied with them for the division lead. The Angels have played far below expectations the past few seasons. It's good to see them doing well with all the talent they've got with Shohei and Mike Trout, all those guys. National League, Phillies are leading their division by 2 games. Elkin, I know you'll be happy with that.
It's
They've been
baseball.
doing
Baseball for
well.
weak men. Baseball weak men hit bat, get ball.
Hit
Walk to
hit
base.
hit ball
Hit bat
400
against
feet.
wall.
Hit
Walk
ball
against the
400
base.
feet, which you can't
Walk
do.
base. Oh, also before we
Not.
continue, I
Oh,
doubt anybody's actually listening to this at this point, but we just wanted to say if you are, thank you for listening.
yeah.
And we
This is
don't
gonna
really
be a
need to cut
long
out anything
episode.
because it's unlikely anybody's actually watching very much of the episodes, so we don't need to worry about cutting out the part where we were talking about logistics.
Yep. But if you are listening, we really appreciate it. And thank you for listening to the whole episode. So we've got, Phillies are
Oh,
dominating.
also,
That
our
division's
question of
playing
the
kind of.
day is: do you like monkey explanation?
Oh, yes. Monkey explanation. Very
Please
good.
tell us.
So comment that down
All
below if
right.
you're listening on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, you can just DM me or whatever. Phillies leading that. Then you've got the
Oh,
NL,
DM the Salty
NL,
Sports Instagram.
the NL Central has been very tight as well, just like the AL Central. You've got the Reds at 6-3 right ahead, and everybody else is also pretty close, except the Pirates who suck, as expected. Then you've got the NL West, the best division in baseball right now. You have the Dodgers who are at 8-2, playing really good baseball, same level as last year when they won the World Series. You've got the Padres 7-3, 1 game behind them. Also playing very high level baseball. Their pitching has been very good. They threw the first no hitter of the season and the first no hitter of Padres history a few nights ago. And then you've
They
got
are the
my
Padres,
Giants.
though, so.
And then you've got my Giants who are at 6-3. Hopefully they can somehow conquer those two teams, but not likely. Anyways, that's baseball bits.
That's pretty much it for
Elkin,
baseball.
you want to talk
Did you say
about?
baseball bits?
Yeah, you want to talk about hockey or
Yeah,
basketball
hockey. All right.
next?
So hockey, we're about 40 games into the 56 game schedule, and there's a lot to talk about. I'm gonna try to keep it clean, but just give a general review. First off, you've had I think COVID hit on every single team except for the 6 Canadian teams, excluding the Geez, the Canucks are in a COVID pause right now, but you have the Maple Leafs who are performing really well. You have the Oilers who are underperforming for how good for Draisaitl and McDavid. The players they have, they're underperforming. The Northern Division is scoring a ton. You have the Western Division, which Pacific Division now, which includes the Wild and I believe the Blues, which you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
But that division's kind of like shite show. It's just not the best to watch. You have the Knights who are fun to watch, but other than that, the division's really not bad.
Colorado is the number one team in the country right now, most points.
Yeah,
but
Colorado's really good to watch. Colorado, but outside them, the teams, it's just not. The games themselves are just not entertaining to watch.
I've actually been following with it a little bit. Is that Colorado, Vegas, and Minnesota almost secured playoff spots. Obviously, you can't like this early.
So what I'm saying is the games themselves,
ahead.
They may ignoring points and everything. They're not
mediocre.
Entertaining.
Yeah, everybody behind those three is mediocre, and you'll
have an occasional good game between like a top five team in the division, but other than that, the games themselves are just less entertaining than other divisions.
Right, and really the only interesting thing going on is that you have four teams competing for the like pretty much what would be the final playoff spot in that division. St. Louis, Arizona, the Sharks, which go Sharks, they're my team, and LA.
The Sharks, though.
And so those four teams are all pretty close, and they're really fighting for that last spot.
Then you have the Eastern Division, which is by far the most competitive division. You have five teams, which are four teams actually, I guess. Sure, Stanley Cup contenders. Every single team had the potential to make the playoffs. Sabres heavily underperformed. They probably should have been able to compete for the fifth spot, maybe the playoff spot, but it's such a small geographical radius. Normally you have the Bruins and the Islanders are normally in the Central Division. They are not normally in the if they're in the Eastern Conference Central Division, they're not normally in the same division as the Capitals, the Penguins, the Flyers, the Rangers. So now you have six teams, all of which could go on playoff runs. You have the Flyers, the Rangers, the Capitals, the Penguins, the Islanders, and the Bruins. But the top four, the Capitals, Penguins, Islanders, Bruins, all four of those are really good teams. It is such a competitive and such a strong division that all four of those teams could pretty much beat any other division. They're all really good teams and have been for years.
Yeah, and how about that Philly Buffalo game? You want to talk about that where they snapped the streak?
I am so pissed. Oh, that game's just whatever. But the game that I recently saw, this season I've been very disappointed with refereeing in general, regardless of biased whatnot. Because refs aren't really biased. We all know they're just not biased.
They're just humans, what we say. And they suck.
Exactly. But this season specifically, I've just not biased, just bad calls on both sides. I'll watch a game where they're so inconsistent against both teams that it's cringe. I cannot watch. It's been horrible. They had to fire a referee because he said he wanted to make a call against Nashville. That's one of the only times like bias. He was retiring at the end of the year, so I feel kind of bad for him. But other than that, it's not bias, just so bad. The Flyers I counted a total of 9 games in which the Flyers could have won if not for a call. Even at 30% of them, if you give them 3 of the games, 3 definitive games where they absolutely would have won, then the Flyers are still in a playoff spot. And that's kind of the issue. You have the big ones is that Capitals game where you had that goalie interference call about a month ago. That was just like absolutely horrible to watch. That was one I've never, ever heard Jim Jackson, the Flyers play get angry. And the Capitals announcers who are also non-biased, they got really confused at the call too. That they got instead of the Flyers having the power play, the Capitals had the power play. It was one of the worst calls I've ever seen. I'll explain to you what happened. Nolan Patrick, He was coming to the net. He took a shot and he tried to stop, and instead he got elbowed to the head into the goalie, and we got goaltender interference called on us. It was one of the worst calls this season.
Refs they've just sucked this season.
Yes, Flyers have been screwed, but then again, the Flyers, they've also been underperforming. So the Flyers aren't deserving of a playoff spot, but the refereeing would help.
And then how about the trade deadline? I've seen a lot of notifications of big moves.
I'd like to talk about the Flyers because it's like things that are important to me.
You go ahead because
we dealt Michael Raffle, one of the players who's just been really good for us, ignoring points and stats. When he's on the ice, everybody around him plays better. He's just give me a second. I'm looking at his stats.
He's just
really quick.
he's a team booster. Like, I don't know what the word is for it. Like the opposite of locker room cancer.
For a fifth round pick, really bad deal. Golden Knights fifth round pick, we traded him to the Capitals though. It's just really not helpful because I would have wanted to get him for a fourth round pick, and then maybe like a really low level like a defenseman because we lost Gustafson, who we also traded for a seventh round pick, which I understand that deal. But Raffle, he's just such a consistent player where I know I can always rely on him. I felt like a fifth round pick was just not enough.
Yeah. And then I think if that's it for the NHL, we got to...
No. We have some big deals for the NHL. Those were just the Flyers deals. Sure. Flyers re-signed Lawton, which I'm happy with. But we have... All right. I'm looking... There we go. Ooh. All right. Yeah, so the deadline was at 12 p.m. today, which is... Today is Monday, April 12th. So we have the Taylor Hall deal. He was a Hart Trophy winner. Which is basically like the
right.
It's essentially the MVP.
Yeah.
The Hart Trophy is the MVP. He won the MVP in 2018. He got traded to the Bruins for a let's see. Let's look what they got in return. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong article. Taylor Hall. There. Oh, no, my article is not loading. I have a VPN issue right now.
Sorry.
I don't know if you can you pull it up? But that's a really big deal where it's I believe it's a 3-team trade. Yeah, here we go. So they got Curtis Lazar, also the Bruins got, in exchange for Anders Bjork, who's been really good. He's 24 years old. He's been pretty good lately. And then a 2021 second round pick. For the Bruins, amazing deal. For the Sabres, has potential, but they're also retaining half his salary, and it's just not – the Sabres could have gotten more out of it. That's one of the big deals. Then we also have the Jeff Carter deal, old Flyer. Let's see. There's a lot of deals to look at. So, we have the Danny, can you hear my sister?
Just a little bit.
All right, so I'll try to talk up over her. But you have the – Jesus, I'm annoyed at this. All right, here we go. The Jeff Carter deal. There. Jeff Carter was traded to the Penguins from the Kings for a conditional third and a conditional fourth. That's a good deal for the Penguins. He's 35 years old. He can still put up 30 goals in a season. And then you have – and then you still have some other things like Nick Foligno traded – the captain of the Blue Jackets traded to the Maple Leafs for, I don't know, fourth round pick, first round pick, and fourth round pick. So really good deal for the Maple Leafs. They're getting a player they need, but the Blue Jackets possibly could have gotten more in return.
Yeah.
That's mainly it. The playoffs are coming up in like May 16th, May 20th, something like that. It's going to be really exciting to watch. And hockey this year has been really fun to watch, exciting, high scoring. That said, let's move on to the NBA where we can do a bit more debating.
Yes. So, right now, standings in the NBA are pretty mixed. In the East, you've got Philly and Brooklyn, who are ahead of everybody else, two really, really strong teams. Brooklyn has just been trading and getting all these players. Can we refer to them by their team
names and not their city names? Because I keep mixing up like all sports.
The Nets been just acquiring so many players, just good players, and they've been winning.
And you've been talking, and people were talked about how the Warriors super team was like not good, and then you see all these people doing it now. This is what ruins the game. Now you have 5 super teams.
Are really just annoying.
When you have like one, that's understandable, but it's also very different from like the Warriors. Yes, it's a super team, but also it wasn't like everybody went there. They had the pieces. All they did was had Kevin Durant.
Before they literally just got KD.
And then you have what's the center's name that they got too? From the Saints. Nothing from the Pelicans.
Pelicans. I'm not sure.
He had like torn
Trying to
ACL, torn Achilles, something like that.
Uh,
But the thing is, the Warriors, they already had the pieces. It's very different from when you saw like what the Nets are doing, where you have Kyrie
they
go
just
there,
keep
you have
getting
KD go there.
all these stars,
Then you
all
have
these
with the
players who are
Lakers, you have
debatably
Anthony Davis go there,
yeah.
LeBron James go there. You have the Clippers, Paul George go there, Kawhi Leonard go there. They don't have the pieces initially.
All of
the
these players that are like
communicate with each other to go there. That ruins the
all
game.
the players that are
So not fun to watch.
MVP possibility level players, like they could compete for the MVP in a good season, are going to the same teams. It's just not fun. It's just not fun, and it's not fair. Other than those,
But
behind
the thing is,
the
I guess
Nets
people are gonna
and
say
the
we're
Sixers,
hypocrites because we're gonna say we're hypocrites because of the
Warrior
Warriors or
fans.
whatever.
But the Warriors had
the Warriors
team
didn't
built.
win the championship. They won one
That's
championship with KD, but
the
they
Warriors
didn't
had
win the
the
other
team
one.
built. The only
They'd already
player
won
that
two
got through
championships.
that was
They'd
KD.
already won a championship. They'd already won a championship.
Yeah.
They'd
Okay,
won
so then
73 games or whatever without
moving
KD.
on from the super teams, though, then behind the Sixers and the Nets, you've got Milwaukee, who's a few games ahead of everybody else as well. Just playing well, like always. Star Giannis. Then very tight for the next 5 spots to make the playoffs are Atlanta, Miami, Charlotte. Oh, my bad. I'm going to go by the team names. The Hawks, the Heat, the Hornets, the Celtics, the Knicks. And then you have right outside of the playoffs looking in is the Pacers, who are a game back. All of these teams have been playing pretty solid. And really, you could see any of them making it. The only teams really at the bottom are the Pistons and the Magic.
The thing is, the Pistons have only beaten good teams. That's the fun part.
I know they lose to everybody, but they beat good teams.
Let's try to wrap this episode up now. I think so.
Well, we can get.
You want to close
but
out?
First, let's go over Western Conference. You've got Utah turning the tables, doing really well. Then you've got Phoenix, the Suns in second, who are also playing really well. They're just doing great with what's his name?
What team you say?
What's the player on the Suns?
Suns?
What?
I don't know. Booker?
Yeah.
Ayton?
Booker and
Ayton?
CP3. That's Booker, CP3. They've been playing really well. Then after them, you've got the Clippers, the Nuggets, and the Lakers, who are all playing well. The Lakers playing a little bit below expectations for what they have. And I think, to be fair, they are heavily injured, where they have been the past few weeks. And a lot of teams have too, but they're just playing below expectations. Then you've got Portland, Dallas, and Memphis taking up those last 3 spots. But San Antonio, Golden State, New Orleans, even Sacramento kind of just looking in, maybe trying to steal that spot.
Kings.
Yeah, the Kings.
They're fake.
Trying to steal that last spot from Memphis. It's close. So
I think that's gonna do it for this episode. We'll try to get one out.
There's one more thing that I can go over real quick. This is a very serious issue, is the Deshaun Watson case, and we're not really going to debate or discuss anything about this because there's not much to debate or discuss. It's just that this
if he did it, he deserves to be in jail, out of the league, mainly in jail, never see him again.
Yeah, these are very serious accusations.
The Texans, if he didn't do this, the Texans owner should be forced to give up his team. I don't even know how they would do that. Here's
the thing: if Deshaun Watson did do these things that he's being accused of,
he should rot in jail for
truly horrible, and he 100% deserves that. If he didn't, and if this is a ploy by the Texans ownership, as some have theorized, to try to lower his value, then that is also absolutely horrible, because making up
but I don't. The thing is, what I don't know is why they would want to
assault.
lower his value. They'd want to get as much as they could from him.
Well, they want to make it so that nobody wants him, so that they can keep him, or that if he.
But you've seen players sit out before.
Right, but they want to make it so that
I think
no matter what, it's horrible, and I want Deshaun not to have done these things. I really hope he didn't do these things. But at the same time, really, we have to support people who are accusing him of these sexual assaults and harassments. And we have to take this very seriously.
So with that being said, we'll try to get this episode out within today or tomorrow because there's not much editing to do.
Yep.
I don't even think you really have to listen to it back if.
Yeah, just kind of have to put in little things here and there.
Yeah,
But
and then so if we try to get up tonight, then we should probably get an episode out next week and then the week after, which
yep,
should lead us up to the draft for the NFL.
which will be awesome. Anyways, we will see you guys next week. Hope you all enjoyed this episode. I know it's been a really long time since we've uploaded.
I'm gonna go watch the
but
end of
we're
the
back.
Leafs Canadians game.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next time. Peace.